Hello everybody, welcome to the Yiboneh Beit Midrash. Welcome home to Torah. Yes, we welcome everyone home, and here we go. We are in Parshat VaYishlach, and we're going to be dealing with Yaakov, of course, he's in the Parsha, and his encounter with the ministering angel over Eisav. Okay, now who is Eisav? Eisav is today present-day Rome, and basically represents Western civilization, and will even go so far as to say Christianity. Okay. What else can we say? First of all, there was a wrestling match. That's how you say it down south. Wrestling. And Yaakov had a very strange encounter. We're not going to go through every detail, but we're going to start in chapter 32 of Genesis, and we're going to go to verse 25. Now, before we do that, I just want to mention that there is a encounter, and his leg, the sinew of his leg, was damaged, was hurt. And I just want to add now, because this is a perfect time, before we get into the Kli Yakar's explanation. Rabbi Breitowitz mentioned this Tuesday night, and I heard Rabbi Daniel Gladstein mention it, that why didn't the Eisav, or the angel of Eisav, which has been around from time immemorial, right? Why didn't he attack Abraham or Isaac? He only comes and has this confrontation with Yaakov. After we're going to become more clear about who the ministering angel of Eisav is, we're going to call him the Satan. He didn't attack Abraham because Abraham is all about Chesed. This is not going to change the world that much, and it's a temporary gesture on someone's part to help somebody, and that doesn't ruin the Satan in a permanent way. So he allows Chesed to happen, and that's why so many Jews give money to the March of Dimes and to the wherever, and some really good charities like Magen David Adom and so on. Hospitals, right? Amazing. And what about Isaac? He represents prayer. Jews build fantastic synagogues all over the world. They're unbelievable. There's no problem. Jews give money and support prayer, and they involve themselves in prayer. But when it comes to Torah, Yaakov represents Torah. Torah is a little bit of a, we'll say, the antidote, right? This really goes against the Satan. But what's the greatest threat? The supporters of the Torah. What does the leg represent on Yaakov? The supporter. And therefore, that gives you support. Therefore, the worst thing that the Satan can do is to affect the supporters of Torah. So I'm telling you now, we are at the end of the financial year, and we could use your help. And that's why I'm saying it, because this is how you can fight off the Satan. He's what's the word? He goes after the supporters of the Torah and convinces them not to give. But I'm here to counter that and tell you that the Torah is the most important thing, and the supporters of the Torah is the foundation of the Torah itself. That you have so much merit by participating in supporting Torah. That you're equal, right? The Zvulun Yisachar relationship is just unbelievable. You can look it up, Zvulun Yisachar relationship, and what the supporters of Torah can do to change the world. Okay, so now we'll get into what the Kli Yakar has to say, and I'm going to tell you this is absolutely fantastic, especially if you're an alcoholic or trying to get over any addiction in life. This will change your world. It's going to rock your world. We're dealing with verse 24. Sorry, 24. Let's go with 24. When he took them, Yaakov got up. Let's go to 23. He got up that night, and he took his 2 wives, his 2 handmaids, his 11 sons, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. And when he took them and had them cross over the stream, he sent over all their possessions. So imagine this. Now he has everybody safe on one side of this river. And apparently he went back all on his own. And we'll see Rashi why. It says, Yaakov was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the break of dawn. When he perceived that he could not overcome him, he struck the socket of his hip. So Yaakov's hip socket was dislocated, and he wrestled with him. Then he said, let me go, for dawn has come, has broken. And he said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. And he said, what is your name? So Yaakov said, I'm Yaakov. He said, no longer will it be said that your name is Yaakov but Israel, for you have striven with the divine and with man and overcome. Then Yaakov inquired, divulge, if you please, your name. And he said, why then do you require my name? And he blessed him there. Yaakov called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen the divine face to face, yet my life was spared. The sun rose for him as he passed Penuel, and he was limping on his hip. Okay, so look at the verse. It's really 25. And it starts like this. V'yivater Yaakov livado. Yaakov was left alone. V'ye'abek ish imo. Now the word ya'abek means what? To wrestle. No, it doesn't. If it was a chet, that's hugging and interlocking, and that would make sense. It says with an aleph, which is really a language of dust. When people wrestle, you ever seen maybe even a boxing ring where they're jumping around? You see a lot of dust come off the floor, and if you're wrestling, you're down in the dirt, you're down in the mud or the dust, and it's coming up. The dust is rising. So this is the word we're going to focus on as well. Besides the fact that he was alone, and there was this dust, and how long did he wrestle with him? Ad olas hashachar, which means until the break of dawn. Now what does the word ad mean? Ad biklal or ad velo biklal? Until could mean including or up until not including. I'll just tell you, there's a halacha on Purim to get drunk, or is there? It says you should drink until you don't know the difference between blessed is Mordechai and cursed is Haman. Until. There's a machlokas, there's a discussion in the Gemara. Many places the word until means including or not up until. I hold it means up until but not including, which means you have a chiyuv to drink the whole day as long as you don't overdo it, right? You drink a little bit more a little bit later, a little bit more a bit later. If you overdo it, then you have no chiyuv to drink anymore. You only have a chiyuv to drink, you only have an obligation to drink until you don't know. Get it? So as long as you know the difference, you have an obligation to drink. So don't overdo it. Don't get so drunk that you don't know the difference. You follow so far? Ad means up until. So right before daybreak, right before the dawn, the fight was over. It did not continue at daybreak. So until daybreak. Okay, so let's go into the Kli Yakar's magnificent explanation. He says, regarding this wrestling match with the angel, Be'inyan hit abkut hamalach im Yaakov rabo hadeos. There's so much information, and there's a lot of depth. Heim katsar oirech hayariya achas milahalos aliyah kol deas meforshim. He is going to try to shorten it and make it a little bit concise for us with bringing up many of the earlier opinions. And then in his humility, he mentions that there is a solution, an interpretation to every issue. Halol Elohim Petronim. Nevertheless, Eni Gam Ani Chelki the Omer. Many people gave righteous and true explanations, but I'm going to give you a piece of my mind, what I have to say. Achashes Kimu Roivim Meforshim. Almost every single rabbi through the Talmud and the Medrash and on, they say that the Malach Zeh, this angel, this archangel, the administering angel of Eisav, is Samech Mem Aleph Lamed, Sam El. Perhaps you've heard that name. We'll refer to as the Samech Mem from now on, okay? He's the Saro Shel Eisav. And why is he called this? Anybody ever think about that? We're approaching Hanukkah. Remind me later to mention why. What about Hanukkah? Hanikra samech mem al shem ki kol chetzo v'yisho l'samei einei adam. You know what the goal of this Samech Mem angel is? Again, remember, he's the ministering angel of Eisav, Christianity, Rome. His desire and purpose is to blind the eyes of man, ulahakoto bivarun la'asoto suma me'ayin asichli. It sounds very harsh what we're saying. Once we relate that this is the Sar Shel Eisav, who is the Satan, the Satan, who is the Malach HaMaves, the angel of death, who is the Yetzer Hara. You'll see it. It's not my words. We're going to see the Kli Yakar brings down from previous sources. His goal and desire is to blind a man and to cause him to be blind from having spiritual vision, a spiritual eyesight, or right, having a third eye, having a spiritual eye, to cause you to be blind, as we talk about as spiritual eye. Ad asher lo yochel heroeh lirot b'maros emes, until the person is no longer able to see or perceive the truth. And today we call it fake news. There's a lot of fake news. And I'm going to tell you, you don't believe me, what they call the gospel, what they call the New Testament, what they call their Bible, I'm going to tell you flat out, you don't want to listen to me anymore, I get it. It's fake news. It's fake news. And it blinds you to the truth. Lavo liraos pnei Hashem. It creates a blockage where you're not able to come to see Hashem for who He really is. Ulavo besod Hashem lireya b'sisrei Torah, and will also cause one to be blind and not able to come to the foundation or the secrets of God, to those who fear Him, the secrets of the Torah. It'll just wipe you away. Kihu Satan, he is the Satan. Hu Malach HaMaves, he's the angel of death. Hu Yetzer Hara, and this is all brought out in Baba Basra 16a. V'ramaz l'davar, and ready for this, this is how, there's a hint to the matter about the blinding. Ready? So he says, remember, the Samech Mem, Aleph Lamed, is a shutaf. Shutaf means a partner. Somehow he's cahoots with. Who? Wine. Wine. How's that? Look at number 2 on the source sheet. You have, it's called Otiot Shniot in the alphabet. Okay, you have an Aleph Bet. If I tell you there's a thing called Otiot Shniot, it means the letter that comes following any letter. So you have the Samech, the letter that follows the Samech is an Ayin. The Mem, the letter that follows the Mem is the Bet. I'm sorry, it's the Nun. The Aleph is followed by the Bet, and the Lamed is followed by the Mem. So what do you have? The Samech Mem, Aleph Lamed is followed by Anavim. What is Anavim? Grapes. And what comes out of grapes? Wine. What comes out of the Satan? Not such good stuff. Challenges. Okay, so based on this interesting hint, just as the wine comes forth from the grapes, as a person becomes intoxicated, it's as if he is blind in his eyes. Have you ever seen someone walk around? I think they call it a drunken stupor. He's like a blind person. He could be knocking into walls, could be knocking into people. Okay, his senses are off. But we're talking about the redness of the eye. The redness of an eye is symbolic of the blindness of an eye. So if you go to Genesis chapter 49, verse 12, this is a blessing given to Yehuda. We're not taking it out of context. We're just using it for textual purposes, that the word einayim, the words of eyes, are being affected from the wine. It's called hachlili. Hachlili is redness, a redness of the eye. But we're talking about like as if it's a blindness. Look at Rashi. So based on Proverbs 23:29, he who has bloodshot eyes, for it is common for those who drink wine to have red eyes. Okay, could have a red nose, right? But the eyes are affected for sure. So ustam shikur hoyle ki iver v'suma. So someone who's physically, when it says stam shikur, someone who's physically drunk, right? So then he's like a physically blind person. Kach the samech mem ze shutafo. So too, now we're going to understand how the samech mem, this angel, is its partner. Kol mizimotav l'samei einei ha'adam. His whole initiation, his whole initiative, is to what? To blind a person. Ad asher lo yochal liros es hashemesh, until he's no longer able to see the sun. S-U-N. The shemesh is the sun. We're going to talk about this again later. But until he's no longer able to see the sun, meaning he doesn't even know if it's day or night. He's drunk. Im kain ha'anavi misamim ayin agashmi, just as the wine causes a physical blindness, zeh the samech mem shutofo mi'iver ayin asichli. So too, the wine, and we're talking about overdoing it. We're not talking about for a mitzvah, for using a cup of wine to make kiddush, havdalah, or even on Purim to have a little something, or Pesach, 4 cups of wine. It's all for a mitzvah, or benching, birkus hamazon, right? Or a kiddush, or a bar mitzvah, a wedding. Okay, we're not talking about getting drunk. We're talking about using the wine for a mitzvah. Then, basically, we're talking about that otherwise your ayin hasichli, your spiritual eye will be off balance, will become blind. Now wait till you hear this. Shalo yireh b'maras hakel. You won't be able to see the vision of what Aleph Lamed, God is. El. Now think about it. A blind person in Hebrew is a summa. Summa. Summa el. Asam kel. He's mamish blind to God. The word itself is a murkevet. It's a combination of 2 words. That's what the Satan is. His desire is to blind you from the truth. God is the truth. So far, so good. We're just getting started. Okay. You know, there's something else you need to know. Did you know this? It's very important to know. What is it about the zvuv? It's persistent. It keeps coming back. You can keep, so there's something good, right? You can learn a lot from this. The Yetzer Hara is like a fly. The fly is annoying, and it ain't going to give up, but it's going for one thing. It's going for an opening. It's looking for an opening. Where your eye meets, where your nose, maybe your ear, the edge of your lip, or a scar, some kind of open wound. Its mouth is very weak. So it's looking for an opening. It cannot create an opening in healthy flesh. So it's looking for pus, it's looking for a boil, it's looking for an opening. And we have a verse in Genesis. Where is this? In Genesis 4:7. This is after Abel's offering was accepted. Cain's was not, and he was on the depressed side. And God notices his countenance, and he wants to know what's up, brother. And he says, is it not so that if you improve, it will be forgiven you? He didn't even kill Abel. We're just talking about, do you realize this is the secret of life? You don't need whatever these other religions claim you need for forgiveness. You have to work on your character. The Vilna Gaon says the purpose of life is tikkun hamidot. Work on your character. If you weren't so nice to somebody today, work on it so it doesn't happen again tomorrow. Feel bad about it. Do something about it. Right? If you weren't quick enough to help the old lady cross the street today, maybe tomorrow you will be. Right? If you do not improve, however, at the entrance, sin is lying. Meaning sin is ready to ambush you. Where? At the petach. What's a petach? An opening. And this fly is going to find the open wound. And the verse continues, and to you is its longing, mean its desire. But you can rule over your Yetzer Hara. You can accomplish this. Look at Rashi, right? Is it not so if you improve? Its explanation is the Targum renders it if you improve your deeds. And what does it mean? It's at the entrance, it's ready to pounce. At the entrance of your grave, your sin is preserved. To you is its longing, meaning the longing of sin, the evil inclination, which constantly longs and lusts to cause you to stumble. But you can rule over it if you wish. You could overpower it. Okay, you have the power, but you can't do it on your own. You need God's help. You have to recognize that. Okay? So the Kliyakar continues. Ki stam zvuv, a regular fly, eno roivetz bebasar shalem sheba'adam. It's not going to ambush, it's not going to try to crouch by healthy flesh or the flesh of a healthy person. Okay, you're spiritually healthy, he ain't got nothing to do with you. Ki ein kocho b'fiv la'asos pesach chadash b'vasar shalem. He has not enough power in his mouth to create a new wound or a new opening. Al ken zvuv roivetz ben asafatayim. Therefore, this zvuv, this fly, is going to ambush between some kind of an opening. Here the word is lips, but it could be the lips of a wound. A place where there's already some small opening. Sham yirbatz, right there. That's the place that he shall lie in wait. Laharchi pesach hamake, to enlarge that wound that already exists. This is exactly the way the evil inclination acts towards you. It ain't got no business with a healthy person. We're talking about a fly. If you're healthy, he's not going to be around you. And if you're unhealthy spiritually, the Yetzer Hara is going to be all over you. All over you. I see people making faces here. Asher lo paratz gidrei klal. If you're, I think I skipped something. If you're healthy, you got no openings, you got no breaks in the fence. The fences that you've built up for yourself, remember, you have, let's say you're like near a cliff and you're a photographer or whatever it is, you want to take a look. How close are you going to go to the cliff? Are you going to take chances? A smart person is going to keep away, so he builds a fence. He's going to say, I'm only going to go up to 3 meters, not 3 inches, right? Someone who's a little bit more daring, say, okay, I'll go 3 inches, and you don't know. There might be some loose rocks at the edge of the cliff, or a strong wind. Who knows? Lo petach lo pesach lechatas ulenida. But if you're healthy spiritually, there's no opening at all to any kind of sin. V'ima isha shalim b'kol ma'asav, and anybody who's really complete with all of his actions, ein lo shum shayachas veisech. The Yetzer Hara is not interested in you. Ki lo yachalo klal. He doesn't stand a chance. Not a chance. But a person who opens himself, even the slightest, to, we'll call sin or weakness, he's poritz gedra, gedero, af, ba'avera kala, even in what he thinks is something very light and insignificant, you're already giving an opening to the fly, right? You say, oh, I can't imagine, I don't know what is considered a light sin. But whatever is considered a very light sin, he says, I would never do this, or the other thing because it's so strict. But maybe this I'll do. So already, that's a huge opening, believe it or not, for the fly. As miyad mizdaveg lo hayetzer hara, so too the Yetzer Hara will find that spot, and he'll cling to you. And you know what he's going to say? Ready for this? Ach atzmi ubasari ata. I'm like you. You and I, we're buddies. We're the best of pals. We're inseparable. The Sutton and you. He's got you. He's got you. Va'az ya'aleu min ha'averos akalois elachamorois. And the next thing you know it, you're going from the one step to another. Even though you started at something considered very light in your eyes, the next thing you know, you're doing something a little bit more severe, and then a little bit more severe. And that's, I think they say about drug addiction. Nobody really starts the first time on heroin. They start on something light, and then they go to a little bit heavier, and then a little bit heavier. Or if it's alcohol, they might start with wine and then end up with, drinking straight, whatever that, 90% alcohol by the end. Who knows? Anyway, that's just in terms of they gamble. They first play this, and then they go to the next level. You can go on. You can use all the examples you want. Everyone knows what I'm talking about, and use your own life as an imagination. And you know what happens? Wow, this effort of the Yetzer Hara is to enlarge in that opening until you become uncurable. You become such a criminal, or I don't know any other word, violent, became basically a sinner, until there's no cure at all. And if you want to know where these words are based on, you can look in 2 Chronicles 36, verse 16. Uparetz gedero v'haya l'mirmas. This, if you look at Isaiah 5:5, you have the same type of expression over there, where it says, you breach its walls and it shall be trampled. Okay, so that was, we have that on the source sheet. So these are the ideas that you want to cure yourself, stay away from. So this is exactly what this Malach Samach Mem does. Kak zeh ha-Malach Samach Mem. The Sarah Shal Eisav, the ministering angel of Eisav. B'ra'isa inyanei Yaakov. If we really examine carefully this wrestling match, this encounter of Yaakov with Eisav, everything ends up being Toloi b'Shmiras HaTorah. We spoke the other week about the blessing that was given by Isaac to Eisav and to Yaakov, right? That he says, when one brother is up, one brother will control the situation, will be the master. But if the other brother, the younger brother, the one who's underneath, so Yaakov, the blessing was to Yaakov, you'll be over your brother. But your other brother who's underneath you, if he's aggrieved, if he feels pain and is aggrieved, then what can he do? He can throw off the yoke. What is this? Remember, the whole bracha is taloi, is dependent on keeping the Torah. If Yaakov does not keep the Torah, then then Eisav can say, I'm really upset. You got the bracha. It was dependent on the Torah. You're not keeping the Torah. I'm going to come at you, basically. And we don't even have to talk about what that means. And that's what the Torah allows him to do. That's what the bracha from Hashem. If you look at chapter 27, verse 40. When you shall be aggrieved, you may remove the yoke. Let's look at Rashi. What does it mean, tarid, aggrieved? Pain, tsar. When the Israelites will transgress the Torah, you will have cause to grieve about the blessings that he took. You will break his yoke. You will, and this is, I'm not going to say this is the cause of anti-Semitism, but we do talk about the idea of a master with his dog. And he takes the stick, he hits the dog. Who's hitting the dog? The master or the stick? The master's hitting the dog with the stick. The dumb dog bites the stick. Sometimes we're that dumb dog. We can blame the Palestinians. We can blame all the anti-Semites. The truth is, if we keep the Torah, there won't be any. Well, that's at least in the Messianic age. Okay, we don't know. Right now, the idea is that hatred came into the world at Sinai. So even if we kept the Torah, to a certain extent, there might be some hatred, but it wouldn't be allowed to rule over us. That's going to be the difference. Okay? There's a protection. And I'm not talking about a personal protection. I'm talking about a national protection. Right? Even innocent, righteous people sometimes have to suffer for the nation. Okay? That's a whole class in itself. But going back to this idea that if Yaakov, God forbid, forsakes the Torah at any given time, then Rome, Christianity, can kind of take over. Now, so let's go back into the Kliyakar. He says, Hine, kol zman shelo hibit avon b'Yaakov klal. When Israel is healthy and not sinning, okay, there's no sin to be seen in Yaakov at all. Lo nizdaveg alav l'samei es einal siklo b'kol v'kol. There's no coupling, there's no joining up of the Yetzer Hara, the Satan, to try to blind the eyes of his spirit at all in any way, shape, or form. However, when the Satan sees or perceives that Israel is weak and has broken through the fences, this is a good topic to bring up. The rabbis made up many gezerot and decrees, and minhagim have developed, righteous minhagim. These are called fences. God says, I want you to guard my guardings. He actually commanded the rabbis to look after our souls. Right? It's very strange, some of the things we do. Okay? It says in the Torah not to cook a kid in its mother's milk. Yes, it says it 3 times. One is cooking actual meat, and kosher milk together, which is a liquid and meat. Milk. Another is not eating that which was cooked, that whatever we just spoke about, and then the benefiting financially or by other gains. So how is it that we don't eat a cold sandwich, cold meat, cold cuts, like a hoagie, Philadelphia hoagie or a Subway hoagie? How is it that we're not allowed to do that? The rabbi said don't do that. It's so easy. You might just stick it in the microwave oven. You might just put it in your oven and heat it up. There's so many reasons not to do it. It's all rabbinic. And we follow the rabbis because they care about our souls. Okay? We don't do it because it's very easy to make a mistake. That's just like one example. So many rabbinic ordinances are there for our protection. You think about it. We're not going to blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. We're not going to, when it falls out on Shabbat. We're not going to take the lulav and the esrog on the first day of Sukkot when it falls out on Shabbat. It's crazy. But they were so concerned that someone would walk out of their house carrying it without an eruv, let's say not in a proper chatzer, not in a proper courtyard, or a private enclosure of some sort. So based on that, they have the right to make gezerot and decrees. Just wanted to mention that, because we're having a discussion earlier. Ki chanano to Elohim, v'naton lo esakol. But Hashem had grace and gives him everything. We're talking about the Jewish people. So much wealth and property and honor. And God forbid that Yaakov should leave this idea of being able to survive on minimum. Let's just say, who's rich? Someone who's happy with his lot, right? Who's not looking after so much riches. The idea of his tafkud is being able to live with the minimum. But what did Yaakov do? He crossed over this river back in a place of danger on his own to pick something so small. I know there's a lot of jokes in America anyway. You drop a penny on the floor, look who runs after it. You can figure out who the Jews are because they're going after the small. You know what? There's 2 sides to it. You have to just accept there's 2 sides. On one hand, we really have to understand to let go of a piece of rice, to not have to chase after the money. That's important. However, when you work for something and you're not a thief, you honestly made a living, you have to really take care of the stuff and make sure it lasts, do what you can, and not think, it's only a few cents. No. So there's 2 sides to it. So we'll be honest with that. But we're going with the idea that it seems silly and foolish that he went back for something so small. And as it says, V'yavater Yaakov levado, he went all by himself. Yesh omrim likado. Yes, it does say levado, but he went back like likado, to be trapped. He became to be trapped by him. The makom hasakana. When does the Yetzer Hara, when does the Malach HaMaves able to come? In a war or in a very dangerous situation, right? We all know people unfortunately get killed. And you know what's very dangerous? Hospitals are dangerous, right? You can pick up all kinds of bacteria and diseases. So you're already, just by going to hospital, it could be dangerous. But anyway, in makom sakana, ki halayla, we're talking about night. It was at night. And night is man kihila lekol hamazikimu. That's when the demons come out. V'hu nishar balayla yechidi avur pachim katanim. And all he went over, it was the middle of the night, he went over on account of these small vessels. Mechablim ramim v'nosoim. a scheme to raise up and carry. Ba'avor davar muat achuz b'chavlei buz noter b'makom sakana levado. On account of such a small amount, a miserable amount, he placed himself in danger by being all by himself. And that's when the Satan was awoken and said, "Hey ach, yo bro, mitzati avoli," right? You're able to find a sin. Me'achar sheYaakov hischil b'kalkala, after Yaakov began to, let's say, ruin himself through this, we'll call greed just for the sake of it, for such a small amount. Also, as atzmu katzat iver me'enav, he actually made his own self a little bit blind. We know by a judge, it says, what about bribery? Bribery is usually for greed, right? You want the money? It causes one to become blind. For money, one can be blind. I have people, friends who, everything's great, and all of a sudden, money gets involved, and they're not the same people anymore. Something happened. There's like a little click. Okay. Ki mi iver kamo olave mamon. Who's blind? Like somebody who is chasing and loving money. Asher leim nemar. Look in Mishle, Proverbs 27, verse 20. Right? The Gave and Gehenna will not be sated, and the eyes of a man will not be sated. What are we talking about? Look what the Rashi says. From receiving the wicked therein, just as the eyes of a wicked man will not be satiated from wandering after temptation, gratifying his lust. We're talking about the lust for money at the moment. Okay, so that's the verse. Ve'enei adam lo tisba'enem. Az Omar Samech Mem. That's when the Samech Mem, this angel of Eisav, is going to say, Hine eis lekare ve'eis lechabek elav. Exactly at this moment is the time to get Yaakov, and he's going after these small little vessels. Hinene moisif lo tuma. Now's my opportunity to really make him impure. Lemalot einav avak va'afar. And I can pour into his eyes, I can fill his eyes with dust and dirt, suma mikol v'kol, so I can finally make him blind entirely from God, the game ayin sichli, meaning from his spiritual essence and truth. And now this is what it means. V'zeh shamar v'yevater Yaakov levado. Yaakov was left alone. Ka'asher avar chok his tafkut. This idea of, it's like one of these ideas of Judaism that one should really learn to live without all the luxuries. Listen, if you were blessed with a lot of money, you could still be modest. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with being modest. V'yavata levado lekado. But he was left alone to be trapped. Harehu levado botla dato etzel kol adam. Now what does it mean to be alone? That you're different than everyone else. He did something that is not considered normal. Ki mi pesi yoser hine l'sachin atzmo bavur davar muat kazeh. Who in their right mind? Only a fool. I'm not saying this. It's a clear car. You might not be happy. Only a fool would put himself in danger for such a small amount. Ein zekiim leiv hutahu mine oref yisharim lechaviv kokach hamamon hagoyim shechel elokai mima'al. It's only through, right? Ein zekiim. It's only a heart that is stupid, that would lean in this direction, because he loved money so much that it would cause one to forget about God above. And that's why it says, look in Deuteronomy chapter 8, verses 13 and 14. God warns us, right? You're going to become so prosperous, and your silver and your gold is going to increase. And what's going to happen as a result? Right? Shechachta es Hashem Elokecha. You're going to end up being so haughty, your heart is going to become so haughty, you're going to forget about the Lord your God. And that's a big problem. Miyad ya'abek ish imo. Immediately, that angel was able to come and fight with him. Meaning, the goal of the Samech Mem was to get him to forget about God. Well, Milat Ye'abek, so we talked about this, Aleph Bet Kuf, is, we call it to wrestle, and he says it's just like the word Yechabek with a chet, which means to intertwine, to hug. Because there's certain letters, such as the Aleph, the Chet, the Hey, and the Ayin, that are mitchalfot. They're actually interchangeable. And therefore, it really means the same thing. So when you see the word Abeik, which means to bring up the dust, it also, in our context, everything's in context, we're talking about the wrestling match that brought up the dust. The Nichta, but it could have written Chet, so why does it say the Aleph? Why is it bringing out the word that doesn't even make sense? Okay? Because of this. It's written with the Aleph, Kedei Lidrosh Mimenu Lashon Avak. It's there to tell you, think about the Avak, the dust. Kirat L'Same Ayin Sikli. The dust on a physical level would certainly cause someone to be somewhat blinded, right? They tell you if you're like in a fight, like someone's attacking you, and you have some powder, put it in their eyes, right? I saw it in a movie once. Okay, but here you're talking about in the spiritual sense that this the Avak wanted the Yetzer Hara, the Samech Mem wanted to blind the what? The spiritual eye. Ka'avak zehu oil u'misame einei adam. Just like this dust or dirt would blind a physical person, kach ola bedatu l'samei ayin sikla. So too it works in a spiritual way. Kidei lahaviu lidei hachshat elokai mima'al. In order to bring one to deny and deceive Hashem, to deny it. This is exactly what Chazal say in Gemara Chulin 91a, that the Avak went all the way up to the Kisei Kavod, all the way up to Hashem himself. And in that Gemara, it brings down a verse from Nachum. This is number 11 on the source sheet. The Lord is slow to anger, great in power, but he will surely not acquit. The Lord, his way is with the tempest and with the storm, and cloud is the dust of his feet. So we're using these words to show you textually that the dust went all the way up to the throne of glory, just to below his feet. Of course, he doesn't have feet. We're talking about God's throne of glory. And he mentioned something that I'm not really sure, but Tzidkiyahu, the king, we know he was blinded, but he mentions Zehu Simui Einav Shel Tzidkiyah. We'll have to do some investigation what that means in the Sifra. Hanogea ba'atzmut amunat haBoyizbrach. The point here is that the very effect of your amunah and belief in God, if the dust can cause you to become blind, and the dust can go all the way up to the Kisei HaKavod, to the throne of glory, you're talking about blinding your sight from the knowledge or belief or faith in God himself. And that's what it means. It means Kisei Kavodo Yisbarach. Okay. And from what it says, this idea that this dust reached all the way up to the throne of glory, the very word says, Ad Olos HaShachar, until the breaking of the dawn. So we said the word Ad. Does it mean including or not including? Ad means the lo Ad Biklal, up until but not including. Why? Ki Olos HaShachar Ma'akev Al Yedo. That this idea of the dawn breaking would be what? Would restrict him. That, remember, his goal is to try to keep you from believing in God. But it's the Olos HaShachar, it's the rising of the sun itself that brings you to believe in God. And therefore they don't go together. He had to escape and get away from the scene before the sun comes up, because the sun itself brings one. Has anybody ever seen a sunrise? Yehuda, when was the last time you saw a sunrise? Isn't it like, wow, there's a God, right? Lefi she'al yedei alos hashakar hikir be'emet ki yesh le'olam boirei u'manhig. You just know this is how the world works. It's just too incredible, too systematic, too perfect that the sun rises the way it does. And he mentions a book called the Educator, mentions a verse. The word Hayom, if you look in Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 39, and you shall know this day. What is this day? The Kli Yakar over and over and over again says the words day means the sun, the orbit of the sun. It starts at sunrise and it ends at sunset. Day. Everyone knows, right? You should know this day. But it's a code word for the orbit of the sun, the way that the earth goes on its axis. And consider it in your heart that he is God. This is one of the things that Abraham, right? We're all disciples of Abraham, right? Abraham went out and made converts. He went out and told people about the Lord, that there's one God. He had people over his house. He made sure that they had, and then people said, I want to pay you. He says, no, no, no. Your payment is to thank God. And if you don't thank God, I'll give you a bill twice the size. And then, of course, they went ahead and thanked God, right? Who wants to pay double when you could just thank God? Anyway, so what does Avram have to do with the sun? Remember, he is the one who, I'll use the word discovered, the secret or invented shachrit, the morning prayer. And therefore, there's obviously a direct relationship. He got up early in the morning and he brought up his son to the mountain. There's a remiss to that. But we're going to see other ramazim, other hints. Listen, we just read the verse in Deuteronomy chapter 4 where it says, and you shall know this day and place it upon your heart that he is God. Shemitoch yedias mahalek gagel yomi, from within the knowledge, maybe it's just simple nature, not knowing how nature works, or maybe astronomy, but within this knowledge that the sun, how it works, dahainu hashemish, we're talking about the sun, S-U-N, not to be mistaken by other religions that talk about the S-O-N. Yochol hamaskil izboinen ki Hashem hu Elokim. You will be able to comprehend and understand that God is the Lord. So to Abraham, lo hikir boro ki imitoch halichos hashemesh. Abraham Avinu, he was able to understand and distinguish Hashem through the orbit, through the way we discuss the way the sun works. How does it begin? It all begins at this thing we call dawn. Could be 72 minutes, at least in Jerusalem, 72 minutes before the actual sunrise is when dawn begins. As it says, if you look in Isaiah 41, 2, do I have it here? Mm-hmm. Okay. Who aroused from the east, the one whom righteousness accompanied. So look at these words. In Mi Hayir Mi Mizrach Tzedek, who's the righteous one? Who is the righteous one? Abraham. Huh? Abraham. Avraham, exactly. And where did he come from? He came from the east. He traveled from Mesopotamia towards the land of Canaan. Okay, where are we going with that? He wants to bring us to a point. A pasuk says, Nidrash al Abraham. This verse is talking about Abraham. The Baba Basra, Gemara Baba Basra tells us he did a special necklace that he had on it some hint of the sun, and when he went ahead and he was mifarsein, he went ahead and told everybody, look at nature. Of course there's a God. You have to worship, or you have to obey the one God, the true God of the creator of the world. And if we want to look over there real quick, it mentions, I think we're here at the bottom. Rav Shimon bar Yochai, a precious stone hung around the neck of Abraham, our father. Any sick person who looked at it would immediately be healed. When Abraham, our forefather, died, the Holy One, blessed be, hung the stone from the sphere of the sun. And this would be used to what? To heal the sick. We know that by the Bikur Cholim, when someone is sick in the hospital, don't go first thing in the morning. You know why you go first thing in the morning? Because he's doing really well. He had 12 hours, 10 hours of sleep, and you look at him first thing, 8 o'clock in the morning, and you think, I don't have to pray for him. Why did I even come and bother myself? He looks great. But you know what's going to happen. by nighttime, he's like exhausted. He looks like he's going to die. So don't come in the middle of the night either. The best time to go visit him is the middle of the day, because then he's like a little bit good, a little bit bad. So you know he's not dying where you give up hope, and he's not so well where you don't feel you have to pray for him. So the suggestion is visit in the middle of the day. Not too early, not too late. Too late, just, tell him, say confession, and don't even plan to go the next day. If you come first thing in the morning, you're surely not going to pray for him. The guy's, when are you getting out? How many hours do they have to keep you here? Right? This guy's chipper. Is that the word chipper? He's like, after 10 hours, 12 hours of rest. Okay, but we will talk about this idea. It says, as the day progresses, sickness is lifted. Fine. Okay. So he says, Uperish harav, sha'al za'amru. It says in Gemara Yuma, V'imale gagel chama, if it was not for the sun, machriz mitzis kal yisbrach, which the sun itself is calling out, it's dancing. All the astronomical bodies are all serving Hashem out of joy. So we have to look at this. Listen to this. This is a little crazy, but since we're talking about Eisav, I thought this was appropriate to see the whole thing. The Gemara says, the sages taught, were it not for the sound of the sphere of the sun, then the sound of the bustle of the crowds of Rome would be heard throughout the world. In other words, God bless you. Somehow or another, the sun is saving us from the crowds of Rome. And were it not for the sound of the bustle of the crowds of Rome, the sound of the sun sphere would be heard throughout the world. So they counter each other. Sages taught 3 sounds travel from one end of the world to the other, and they are the sound of the spheres of the sun, the sound of the bustle of the crowds of Rome, and the sound of the soul at the moment that it leaves the body. Some even say the sound of a woman giving birth. They're pretty loud screams that can be heard from one end of the universe to the other. So here we're talking about the idea of the voice of Rome is Hamacheshet Mitzias Sho Yisbarach. It's fake news. Rome is fake news. They're telling you this is God, but it ain't. It's not God at all. And whatever they're telling you is countering the truth. That's why it says, Ad Olas HaShachar, until the sun has risen. Interesting. S-U-N, man. Shemesh, until the sun has risen. Ad, v'lo ad b'chal, before, not including. Ki al yedei yedias tenuas hashemesh yoda Yaakov ki Hashem hu Elokim. That Yaakov learned from his grandfather through looking at the stars and the sun and how it works. He understood exactly that there was a creator of the universe. Okay, we have one more paragraph. Mitam zeh mishpat rishoyim levakrim. When are the rishoyim going to be judged? Early in the morning. That's when they're going to be judged. And how do we know? Look at, let's see, Genesis 19, verses 23 and 24. When God judged Sodom and Gomorrah, it says the sun came out upon the earth. And of course, then fire and brimstone came down. So look at the bottom, in the middle of the Rashi. As the dawn rose, he punished them at a time when the sun and the moon both rule. Just even think about it. The Christians use a solar calendar. The Muslims use a lunar calendar. Right? The Jews use a combination of both. Think about what's happening now. What does Rashi basically say? God was saying that if I punish them at night, then what are the people who worship the moon going to say? Right? It's our God, right? Or it was by day where the sun rules. The people who worship the sun god would say it's our God. But he did it exactly as the dawn rose, between. It wasn't night and it wasn't day. So that they who worship the sun and the moon would have to admit that it wasn't their God that rules the world. So what are we saying? It says that God will judge the evil people at that moment. We saw from these verses from Sodom. And it also says, look in Psalms 101 verse 8, each morning, it says, each morning I will destroy all the wicked of the land. to rid the city of the Lord of all evildoers. Levakrim. So you see it right there. Lefi shelo lachachu limud me'alos hashachar v'lo yodu es Hashem. So anybody that does not take the lessons of Olos HaShachar, this is why the Satan ran away right before. Anybody that doesn't understand nature and how things work will not come to understand the ways of Hashem. This is only going to be part 1. Bezrat Hashem, next year we'll do part 2 on this. And I just want to wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom. I hope you got something out of it. I hope I touched some nerves, raw nerves maybe. Either way, we welcome you home to Torah. We welcome you to practice the Torah. Right? If you're Jewish, you're an Israelite, you're from the 12 tribes, and if you're a potential candidate for conversion, we welcome you to join a proper conversion. And if you're a Ben Noach and you're a righteous Gentile, we love you, and we want you to continue to be part of our lives. And welcome home to Torah. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.